Alright, so welcome back into another Dragon Ball Super card game video, and today I want to talk about the top 5 budget decks in no particular order for the April 2021 format. And this is actually perfect for anybody just now getting to the game, got out of the game, trying to get back into it and not wanting to spend any money for either one, or just in general just want to play something new and don't want to spend too much money and kind of want to try things out. And I think DBS has always been sort of a budget friendly type of game, but sadly, it's kind of changed, and a lot of different things, such as staples and as well as just the good cards deck, it's really hard to build and just buy around those things. And of course, that's going to be sort of a different video, and I've made a lot of different videos on that. But if anything in this video is actually going to be at or under $100, around there. Is going to be fluctuating, but under $100 is usually the goal for me. And none of these is going to win you a whole event, but it will get you started in within an archetype, and it will be able to compete at the very least at locals. And before we begin, if you want to buy any of these cards or any of the decks, the lists are going to be in the description below in case you don't want to listen to me at all, and as well as using the TCG player link, it's actually going to be helping me, or will help me quite a lot if you do that. And what was that? You're not following us on Facebook and following the Stage Zero team? Wow, I don't know what to say. Please go ahead and do that right now if you're not. Link is in the description below. Okay, jumping right into it, we do have Vegeks, and ever since I started doing budget deck videos, I've always talked about Vegeks. It's been neutered a couple times now since like Universe 3 in those days, and now it's a little bit different, but it definitely can compete. It almost won at the last event or last couple events prior to the webcam events that we were having before, and it still is within top cuts before, like just in previous events. So I think it is still a good competitor, and right now what we're looking at is more on the budget side when you're not playing some of the black staples and as well as some of the Vegeks core, which now, due to collectors and as well as just the deck being competitive as well, the core of the deck is going up and up in price. As you can see, that is the real price. Some of these aren't the real prices for all of them. Like obviously the one drop Goku is not $15 each, but the one drop Kai I think is hovering around that $3 to $4 mark, even without the foil prints. So I don't know, it's a little bit annoying, but that's okay. So going through this here, obviously you can take a look at some of the substitutes that we have here, and I'm going to go over the decks or the cards that you could be going through or could be buying in replacement to your upgrade as well. But we have the Vegeks core, from the Unison to the Trunks and the Kai and the Vegeta, but also we take advantage of these guys. Not only if you warp them or use it from warp in order to use the Union Fusion or Union Pator, that is, but we do have the Champak Vegeks, which technically, even if you don't see basically if you have no cards and no cards in the battlefield and you have 3 or more energy and you mill this out of your deck, you get to play it for free, and then it is another target for the 7-drop afterwards. But honestly, 2 energy, and if they don't have a counterplay up or you're not playing against green, that type of thing, I think it's actually pretty good to get a swing in for 20k and then warp it, play the 7-drop for free, and then swing to warp something and have 30k double strike. Overall, pretty good. I think when you're playing Vegeks in general, you don't really want to even use too much energy, so 2 and 3 energy is quite a lot for Vegeks, but because this is budget, it is a little bit different. We are still playing the Dark Power Massane that hits a lot of stuff that's for free, like U9 Assemble or this deck, and then we also have the True Fighting Spirit for both of these guys for Self Awakening if you're not going the 20 and drop route. Overall, pretty fun deck. Still, you just play a lot of things for free. We still have Man on the Mission for our Overwhelm option, and as well as Secret Identity. I usually don't put overwhelm things in Vegeks too often, but I think it is pretty good overall when you're talking about an aggro variant, or at least trying to end things on turn 2 or turn 3. And that's not a stranger or a concept that's a stranger in some of the top competitive decks either. A lot of it, which we'll go through as well, has like the Super Saiyan 4 Bardock or things of that nature. But we do have Kami, which is our board clear against like King Piccolo or something of that sort. Yes, it does get rid of your stuff that is 4 or less, but if you do have the Vegeks line and only the Kami out on turn 3 or 4, then that's going to be a perfect thing to board wipe them. These guys aren't effective, and it gets to reset your game state. And then of course we have the draw boo. So overall, pretty good. I like the deck. It's a tried and true, if anything. Next up, we do have Dark Broly, and yeah, Dark Broly. I mean, when you really think about it, the only thing that's actually expensive in Dark Broly are going to be the SRs and the Win More or Black Staple cards. We have the same sort of concept in this deck that we do have in Vegeks, where we're playing the Dark Broly core. We're having the 1-drop and as well as the 1-drop Toa and Broly with the balls in order to play out a 30k Dark Broly afterwards for free. And then we also have Dark Power, Black Mass Saiyan, and Calming. Again, the same concepts, even better in this deck, in which it gets around the 6 drops that the 30k bodies that you're playing. And then we also have Hidden Power Supreme Kai for the easy double strike. We play the Trunks Temporal for the 5 sparking for super combo. And now we have the Master Roshi that you draw 1 when you have 4 or less life, which is pretty easy in this deck since Dark Broly does take a life every turn that you want to. And they also have a Super Kamehameha, which actually is quite good, I think, just in very situational things. But when you're in that situation, as in a 3 or less, or anything that you want to counterplay and you're at 4 or less, then you can go ahead and use this for free, or you can use it for 1 energy, and it does come in clutch. The Secret Identity at 1 is not too bad. You're going to be able to warp and get things back. The Demigra helps with that for the 30k bodies as well. And you have plenty of targets for the leader to actually filter out and do things of that nature as well. And then we also have the red-black Dark Broly that rips a life or rips their hand field and as well as drop. That you can go on top of any of these other Dark Brolys as well. And then we also have Heartfelt Plea. Now that $12 mark, or the $12 price there that we're looking at now, isn't too accurate, only because we do have the reprint in the revision pack, which it lands around $6 to $7 since the time of this recording. And I think it's going to be a very, very important card if you're going to be playing Dark Broly, especially if you're playing this 7-drop here. So overall, really cool deck. Dark Broly has always been pretty good, and at its highest level, it can compete all the way up to a regional win. And at its highest level, it can compete all the way up to its regional win, I'm sure. All right, so let's talk about the cards to upgrade. So when we're talking about both for Vegeks and as well as Dark Broly, the Kai of Time Supreme Raveler for 1 energy. It's probably the most important or the most popular secret rare at this point, where it can board clear. It can be a 1 cost 40k body, which is crazy on turn 3, and then it can just be really just a turn stopper if they can't swing with their leader or unison. So overall, really, really good for both of them. I think it's hovering around $300 to $400 right now, so I wouldn't really jump to that as far as to buy it. But either way, some of these other cards are a little bit more attainable. The Mechiabora here, where you can get a Dark Dragon Ball. It helps with the mirror match as well for Dark Broly. It helps with a lot of different things like Red Broly as well. Any of these archetypal type of decks, it's going to be really, really good. And then we also have the Brainwash No More, really good for any black leader. There's not really much to say about this, where you can just not take any damage. Heroine's Leading is just an alternative to Kai. I think there's a lot of other secret rares you can consider, but these two are great for both decks. And then of course Demigra for the 30k swing, draw, and as well as warp is really good. And then Super Saiyan 4 Bardock that I mentioned earlier is really good for both decks for that extra free 2 swings for 25k. It's just really, really good. But Demigra is going to be the best staple, or one of the better cards to consider for Dark Broly for sure, since it is a 30k. Same thing for the Mass Saiyan. Now let's talk about King Piccolo. So again, same thing, same concept of, you want to play the core, you want to understand the deck, and you want to play as many as the good cards as you can, and then just substitute the ones that are more of on the staple end. And I think people are kind of blind when it comes to that. Again, you're not going to win an event because the staple cards, or the higher price cards, are higher priced because it covers a lot more matchups and it does more for you. In this case, for King Piccolo, you're still playing all of the things you can play for free. So from the cymbal to the drums to the tambourines, you still have the King Piccolo F4 to search out any of them. The piano still draws you a card, and as well as does the other effect. Tau does really well to swing, and you can even I don't really think it's going to be really necessary in this deck, but you can include the 3-drop Bardock, that if they take a life or crit, you can go ahead and do that as well. One thing I forgot for this one, by the way, is the super combo, the black super combo that you bottom deck one and you draw 2. That just popped up in my mind. I'm so sorry. But we also have some of the replacements for Violet Rays, which we'll look at in a second, where we have is that all you got to stop an attack and maybe even neg 2 different battle cards. Sometimes in the mirror outside of Drum, where it does have barrier, it can help quite a bit. It can even remove stuff like Tau or Yamcha and things like that. After Image, in my opinion, is pretty good, simply because you get to that combo step, you can use your leader effect and you can use these other effects to play them out. Then we also have the Piccolo Unison, which thankfully is only $4 for the SR. I don't know how the SPR is looking, but that is good for me, and it's definitely going to be a staple. I don't think you play any other Unison in this deck in particular, simply because you need that draw and you need the auto and secondary effects. So you just need the Unison basically. And we also play Man on the Mission just for that, and as well as Secret Identity for those 2 free Overwhelm. It's just really good in general for the situational to take game or to board clear. To the topos for the reprints is very affordable as well as effective. I don't think topo is going to be too great. You're playing a lot of negates as well, so you can always take that out if you'd like. And then this being a common to play out another target, this TP is not bad at all when you start using it as well. So throwing that in there at $9 a piece is not that bad of an idea. And then we also have Yamcha, which is on the higher end for all of these cards, but definitely needed, since it gives you another attacker and you can stop a lot of different threats against King Piccolo. And then we also have Belmont, just for another swing and another protection for block. And then we have the King Piccolo down here, which you can pay for 1 as long as you meet the requirements, which is pretty easy when you have the King Piccolo and as well as the tambourine on board. So overall, not too bad as far as a budget deck. And now cards to upgrade. So we have Violet Rays for some of the matchups that you go against for anything 20k or more. King Piccolo is really good when you have that Unison out and you get to protect it for 3 or more markers. You get to have a 20k double striker, and then Frieza Death Ball, just really good and gets really any deck. Wolfang Fist, just to get rid of anything barrier and just to stop lethal if you have a Unison out for free. All right, the last 2 decks are more of a budget and as well as more of a on the like funner side. You get to see more of this overall Man on the Mission, but this sort of plays out the core like World Tournament type thing here. We still technically play 7 negates, and I just like negates. So that's just me. That's just how I build right now. But the play-by-play pro is really just to draw you more cards. This guy has barrier over here, and you get to play this guy for free, or for 1 turn 1, or you get to use things like the Dodoria. So that way you get to use the effect for Bardock, which is great against the deck that we just looked at, which is King Piccolo. And you also have the targets to pop, including the Chaozu, in order to play out a TN. But some of the cards that you might not see in other decks, like the trading moves, the Vegeta for board clear. This is just for the trading moves TN to pitch 3 if they don't have any counterplays active. And then we also have the Hidden Might Gohan as an alternative win con. Overall, pretty good. This Zarbon is actually a lot cheaper because of the Winner's Choice reprint, so that's really good as well. And then we also have the reprint Paragus, which now they're less than $1, I think, for the reprints, which is really good. Overall, great deck, a lot of board clear, cool unisons, cool archetype in general. You can draw plenty because you awaken pretty quickly. The removal and the critical with the 2 Kais that are searchable with the Ever Curious, all very good in this deck. If you're looking to play something like something that goes relatively wide but has a little bit of a board control aspect, TN is going to be best for you. When it comes to the cards to upgrade, it should be pretty obvious. These are the staples that green should be playing in any deck. The Frieza, if it can. If Frieza getting rid of anything 7 or less, as long as you have the Unison out for 2 markers, the Dormant Potential to stop literally an entire turn, the Rosie as an alternative option She doesn't have the world tournament, but it is pretty nice as an alternative sort of finisher, or at least in the battle of attrition for late game sort of finishes. Fuse the monster is really good in correlation with Frieza, especially if you're playing the Bardock Unison and using the 1-drops to pitch a card every turn. And then we also have the Cell Xeno, probably the monster of the actual deck. I mean, the alternative is probably, if you're talking about more of a budget instead of a $400 SCR like Cell, you can probably play the Janemba SCR, the green one, as a counter. And I think that actually might be going up because of King Cold, but we'll see that in the future. And then another, or the last deck that is more on the fun, or at least different basis, is going to be Android 21 Ramp. We have a lot of stuff going on here, but we play the ramp package as far as the energy amplification. You're free to play the 1-drop negate that plays him out for free, but I personally don't really like it. It's either you play it or you don't, and it's sort of an annoying combo to have. But this new Unison being able to prevent their clone tokens being made is really good. You don't really use too much of the clone tokens. Yes, you do use it here, and you use it here and here, but that's really over time. Most of the time you're going to be using all of these other cards, in the basis of the whole entire deck for this one is to ramp, use a lot of the energy to play cards on their turn, as in the arrival cards here, the Mechie Abort, and as well as basically getting a board state, well, as well as the Android 18, but getting a board state to clear your hand, their hand, and then swing for critical, and then everything else that you may have on the board. Or you can use this new SR 17 and 18 siblings reunited, I think is the the name for it, where you can reveal their hand, wipe their board, etc., and then untap one. This is with the clone token leader, not the 6 or less awaken. And of course, the cards to upgrade should be pretty obvious. We do have the budget alternative Android 17 that looks at the top 5 for blue or green Android. The 18 does the same thing. It's just that you put a blue-green multicolor card into your energy at the end of the turn. So that's really good for this leader, is if you're committed to it, but the other one does the same exact thing to look at the top 5. And then we also have Goku's Kamehameha, really good for defense, really good for offense. It really helps your arrival targets, especially this guy with 20k, or really any of the cards. I mean, honestly, if you're pushing out all of these guys to play out the Android 17 at the end of it, or you can play out the Super 17 after all of that if they still live, and then crit them the life and clear their board with the Android 21. This is really going to help you to push that damage as well. And then the Super Saiyan Trunks God Sealing is just a staple in blue, where you're going to be using that Unison. It's going to be having a lot of Unison counters as well, and it's just going to be preventing all the things that don't have deflect. Same thing for Baby as a counter. Same thing for Heroic Prospect, where you can prevent things like Dark Broly from running you over. And then we have the Baby Hatchiac to stop an entire turn. All right, I spoke plenty here, and if anything, you can let me know what you think. I am blocking the thing here, but I am not going to be blocking this. We're trying to pull the Kai that we just talked about, the secret rare. But in the meantime, definitely subscribe if you are new. Let me know if you like this kind of videos, or this kind of video. If you want more videos like this, do you want it for Digimon as well, for my DBS audience? Do you want to see more budget decks that you want me to talk about, and that way you can get into Digimon as well? Do you want me to talk about decks, or at least deck profiles? Do you want to see more gameplay for different kinds of decks? Let me know in the comments below. I just pulled an SR, Frieza and Cell match made in hell. Look at that, I'm rhyming. Either way, I'll see you in the next one.